It is Tuesday, June 9th, and we are going to read through Act 5 today. The focus for today's lesson, my dogs are playing, sorry about their screaming noises. I don't know what the heck that is, where that came from. Well, hopefully that's not a bad sign. What we're going to do that's different from all of the other acts is that you're only going to be assigned question number 3, or the bolded question for the prologue and the 2 acts. What I am requiring of you is to do what I did. We'll go to Act 4 to show you. You are going to be asked to read through the script and look for unfamiliar words. And when you come up with an unfamiliar word, don't trust the spell check, because that is not what Shakespeare meant. So what you do is you copy the word. Here, let's go into, instead of that one, let's go into this one. Sorry, the dogs are actually throwing me off. So right off the bat, the very first word in the chorus is an unfamiliar word. Now you may recall it from previous scenes, previous acts, but you may not, because it's unfamiliar. It's not a word we say every day. So you will copy and paste the word into the dictionary. So you go back to classwork, and there is dictionary.com. So you click into dictionary.com, toss in your word, and hit return. Da-da-da. So, to grant or give, as by favor, graciousness or condescension. To allow or permit, as by favor or graciousness. So now we go back to Act 5. Vouchsafe to those that have not read the story that I may prompt them. So for the sake of those, to grant or give favor. In this case, we're going to go with the first definition, because he's doing a service for those who have not read the story. So you click on the comment, you type in the word, and then quotation mark with the definition, because these are not your words. And then underneath it, dictionary.com. It's a very straightforward activity, but it's also tricky. So, vouchsafe to those that have not read the story that I may prompt them. I would hope most people would know what the word prompt means, but if it's unfamiliar, good morning, Mr. Andonoff, you would then have to go into your dictionary and look it up. Prompt, done, performed, delivered at once without delay, ready in action. Nope. It's theater. To supply forgotten lines. So you have to, how do I know which definition to use? You have to read through the lines. Vouchsafe to those that have not read the story, that I may prompt them. So if they haven't read the story, I have to tell them the story. I have to prompt them. So then I go to my definition, and I look at all of these answers, and none of them make sense until I get to supply forgotten lines. And so I choose the one that makes the most sense to what I have just read. So then I go comment, prompt, colon, quotation mark, insert the definition, quotation mark, dictionary.com. Now, I'm going to keep reading. I'm going to expect you to identify words that are unfamiliar, and if there is an illusion, once we hit the first illusion, I'm going to show you what you do. Okay. Vouchsafe to those that have not read the story, that I may prompt them, and of such as have, I humbly pray them to admit the excuse of time, of numbers, and due course of things, which cannot in their huge and proper life be here presented. Now we bear the king toward Calais, grant him there seen, heave him away upon your winged thoughts, athwart the sea. Well, there's an interesting word. We just landed on another unfamiliar word. Athwart the sea. Behold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bold these unfamiliar words for you guys as I come across them. Behold, the English beach pales in the flood with men, with wives and boys, who shouts and claps out voice the deep-mouthed sea, which like a mighty whiffler for the king. For is just shortened version of before, but if you don't know it, then you have to. Which like a mighty whiffler for the king seems to prepare his way. So let him land, and solemnly see him set on to London. So swift a pace hath thought that even now you may imagine him upon Black Heath, where that his lords desire him to have borne his bruised helmet and his bended sword before him through the city. He forbids it, being free from vainness and self-glorious pride, giving full trophy, signal, and ostent quite from himself to God. I'm just going to underline that because that goes to the question of quoting lines that show he gives all credit to God. But now behold, in the quick forge and working house of thought, how London doth pour out her citizens, the mayor and all his brethren in best sort, like to the senators of the antique Rome. You may or may not know, brethren. Who are the senators of the antique Rome? So I don't know if I'm going to be able to find that Encyclopedia Britannica. Let's see if that gives us anything. So, the Flavian emperors from ancient Rome. Let's see if there's something in here. The state conferred all the imperial powers upon the Vespian with the famous da-da-da-da, and the assembly ratified the Senate's action. This apparently was the first time such a law was passed. A fragment of copy. Nope, doesn't help us at all. So I'm going to open a new one and go, who were the senators of the antique Rome? I don't like Wikipedia, and university won't let you use Wikipedia. So don't use Wikipedia, okay? I'm just going to clarify that in here. In here. Not in here, but in here. As universities do not Do not use it. Why is Wikipedia not considered a valid source? Because anybody, their dog or their monkey, can go in and put information in, meaning it may or may not be valid, and one will assume it is valid. So we scroll past all the Wikipedia. Okay, Ancient History Encyclopedia. Now that's not a bad one. Roman Senate. The Roman Senate functioned as an advisory body to Rome's magistrates and composed as it was of the city's most experienced public servants and society's elite. Its decisions carried weight, even if they were not always converted into law's practice. The Senate continued to exert influence on government in the imperial period, albeit to a lesser degree, and despite the increase in the army's intervention in politics and its manipulation of both membership and sessions by successive emperors. The institution outlasted all emperors, and senators remained Rome's most powerful political movers. So let's go back to Act 5. The mayor and all his brethren in best sort, like to the senators of antique Rome, with the plebeians swarming at their heels. So we want to go to Notes. We want to go to Comment. Now, I just put in my own words what I read. That doesn't mean I don't have to cite my source. I have to go back here. Ancient History Encyclopedia. Okay, I can't just copy and paste that, sadly. Where does this come from? Where did my note go? Oh, I'm in the wrong act, that's why. Sorry, everybody. So, Ancient History Encyclopedia. Period. Now, I didn't spell encyclopedia right, so E-N-C Encyclopedia. Encyclopedia. Okay. Roman Senate definition. So I bet you I can copy and paste this. Now, what's nice about this is that the comment reduces it to the correct side. Encyclo. Why am I not getting encyclopedia right? E-N-C-Y-C-L-O. 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 P-E-D-I-A. 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 And yes, you have to go to that kind of effort to make sure you've spelt things correctly. So, title of the website, title of the web page, followed by definition by Mark Cartwright, published on. Open up and see. Retrieved from. Now this may seem boring, guys, but you're going to university next year. And you better know how to properly cite your sources so that they don't give you a 0. That's the nicest thing they'll do. And if they are kind to only give you a 0, you're lucky, because they can make you drop the class, where they kick you out of the class and you lose all the money for that class. Or worse yet, they can expel you from the institution and having on your record plagiarism, and the day you retrieved the item. You do this because websites are mutable. They do change. So, there we go. Like to the senators of the antique Rome, with the plebeians. There you go. There's a word you're going to have to look up. Go forth and fetch their conquering Caesar. There's an allusion. In as by a lower but loving likelihood, we're now the general of our gracious empress, as in good time he may from Ireland coming, bringing rebellion broached on his sword. There's a word. How many would the peaceful city quit to welcome him? Much more, and much more cause did they this harry. Now in London place him, as yet the lamentation of the French. Here's a word that you should remember from Romeo and Juliet, but because it's not a word we use today, there's a good chance you don't recall it. What happened? Oh no, did I just delete my whole... Oh, do be very careful, because that is very frustrating when that happens. Okay. There it is. Phew. Now what I wanted to do was edit it, because for some reason that period, nope, that period is exactly where it belongs. I don't need any editing to do. There. Be careful not to hit resolve when you actually want to do some editing. So, now in London place him, as yet the lamentation of the French invites the King of England stay at home, the Emperor's coming in behalf of France to order peace between them, and omit all the occurrences, whatever chance, till Harry's back return again to France. There must we bring him, and myself have played the interim by remembering you 'tis past. Hopefully you would know that word, but you never know. Then brook abridgment. There's another word. And your eyes advance after your thoughts straight back to France again. So, you know what you need to do. All of those bolded out words, you define and or identify the allusion for. But before we move on, I want you to fill out for me what important information does the chorus provide the audience? Can you fill that out for me? What important information did we get from the chorus? So, vouchsafe to those that have not read the story that I may prompt them, and of such as have, I humbly pray them to admit the excuse of time, of numbers, and due course of things, which cannot in their huge and proper life be here presented. Now we bear the king toward Calais, grant him there seen, heave him away up upon your winged thoughts athwart the sea. Behold, the English beach pales in the flood with men, with wives and boys, whose shouts and claps outvoice the deep-mouthed sea, which like a mighty whiffler for the king seems to prepare his way. So let him land, and solemnly see him set on to London. So swift a pace hath thought that even now you may imagine him upon Black Heath, where that his lords desire him to have borne his bruised helmet and bended sword before him through the city. He forbids it, being free from vainness and self-glorious pride, giving full trophy, signal, and ostent, quite from himself to God. But now behold, in the quick forge and working house of thought, how London doth pour out her citizens, the mayor and all his brethren, in best sort, like to the senators of the antique Rome, with the plebeians swarming at their heels, go forth and fetch their conquering Caesar in, as by a lower but loving likelihood, were now the general of our gracious empress, as in good time he may, from Ireland coming, bringing rebellion broached on his sword. How many would the peaceful city quit to welcome him? Much more and much more cause did they this harry, now in London place him, as yet the lamentation of the French invites the King of England's stay at home, the Emperor's coming in behalf of France. I guess that could be an allusion to order peace between them, and omit all the occurrences, whatever chanced, till Harry's back return again to France. There must we bring him, and myself have played the interim by remembering you 'tis past. Then brook abridgment, and your eyes advance after your thoughts, straight back again to France. So what important information does the course give the audience? Where does Harry go? Very good. Next. How do the people receive him? So how do the people receive him? Very good. Exactly. Yes. Yes, they do, Mr. Andonoff. The plebeians, of course, are, when you look that up, the us, the ordinary citizen. Where does he go next? Yes, the common folk. Where does Harry go next, and why? He is going to France as its emperor. Why? Why is he returning to France? He already has it. To order peace between them. To ensure the peace. Okay. So with scene 1, it's interesting that Shakespeare includes this scene instead of the one he described in the chorus, which of course was the receiving of King Henry back to London and the celebrations. Instead, he writes a scene between Fluellen and Pistol. Pistol has been, to put it bluntly, pissing Fluellen off, and Fluellen finally gets his revenge in this scene. Pistol proves himself to be exactly what Gower claimed him to be, but Shakespeare creates some sympathy for Pistol, which is interesting. And of course, the one that is bolded out is your assignment. As you can see, there are no notes for this scene, and I want you guys to do that. As we go through, I will bold things that you may or may not know, things that need definition, and things that are allusions. Enter Fluellen and Gower. Nay, that's right, but why wear your leek today? St. Davy's Day is past. There is occasions and causes why and wherefore in all things. I will tell you as my friend Captain Gower, the rascally, scald, beggarly, lousy, pragging knave. These two words. Now remember, every time you see the letter P, I'm just going to put a comment in. The rascally, scowled, beggarly, lousy, bragging knave, pistol, which you and yourself and all the world know to be no better than a fellow, look you now of no merit. He has come to me and brings me bread and salt yesterday, look you, and bid me eat my leek. It was in a place where I could not breed no contention with him. But I will be so bold as to wear it in my cap till I see him once again, and then I will tell him a little piece of my desires. Now, I would hope you guys know contention, but if you don't, there it is. Why, here he comes, swelling like a turkey cock. 'Tis no matter for his swellings, nor his turkey cocks. God bless you, ancient pistol. God bless you, ancient pistol, you scurvy, lousy knave. Did we do knave up above? So you don't need to do it twice. God bless you. Ha! Art thou bedlam? Dost thou thirst, base Trojan, to have me fold up Parsa's fatal web? Hence I am qualmish at the smell of leek. I beseech you heartily, scurvy, lousy knave, at my desire and my request and my petitions, to eat, look you, this leaf, because, look you, you do not love it, nor your affections and your appetites and your digestions does not agree with it. I would desire you to eat it. So beseech, not beseech. So you may or may not know the word beseech. Not for Cald Walder and all his goats. There is one goat for you, strikes him. Will you be so good, scald knave, as eat it? Base Trojan, thou shalt die. Very true, scald knave, when God's will is, I will desire you to live in the meantime and eat your victuals. Come, there is sauce for it, strikes him. You called me yesterday mountain squire, but I will make you today a squire of low degree. I pray you, fall to. If you can mock a leek, you can eat a leek. Enough, Captain, you have astonished him. I say I will make him eat some part of my leek, or I will beat his pate for days. Bite, I pray you. It is good for your green wound and your bloody coxcomb. Must I bite? Yes, certainly, and out of doubt, and out of question too, and ambiguities. By this leek I will most horribly revenge. I eat, and eat, I swear. Eat, I pray you. Will you have some more sauce to your leek? There is not enough leek to swear by. Quit thy cudgel. Thou dost see I eat. Much good do you, scald knave, heartily. Nay, pray you throw none away. The skin is good for your broken coxcomb. When you take occasions to see leeks hereafter, I pray you, mock at them. That is all. Good. And leeks is good. Hold you, there is a groat to heal your pate. Me, a groat? Yes, verily, and in truth, you shall take it, or I have another leek in my pocket which you shall eat. I take thy groat in earnest of revenge. If I owe you anything, I will pay you in cudgels. You shall be a woodmonger and buy nothing of me but cudgels. God be with you and keep you and heal your pate. All hell shall stir for this. Go, go, you are a counterfeit, cowardly knave. Will you mock at an ancient tradition begun upon an honorable respect and worn as a memorable trophy of predeceased valor, and dare not avouch in your deeds any of your words? I have seen you gleeking and galling at this gentleman twice or thrice. Your thought You thought because he could not speak English in the native garb, he would not therefore handle an English cudgel. You find it otherwise, and henceforth let a Welsh correction teach you a good English condition. Fare you well. Doth fortune play the housewife with me now? News have I that my Nell is dead in the spittle of a malady of France, and there my rendezvous is quite cut off. Old I do wax from my weary limbs, honour is cudgelled. Well, bawd I'll turn, and something lean to a cut-purse of quick hand. To England will I steal, and there I'll steal, and patches will I get unto these cudgelled scars, and swear I got them in the Gallia wars. So, what happens in this scene? So what happens in this scene? Here's some hints. What happens in this scene? So the focus of the scene is a fight between two men. Who are they and why are they fighting? Good. So Pistol is mocking a sacred Welsh tradition and food. So what does Llewellyn do in response? What does he make Pistol do? You can see it here. Crap. He beats Pistol into eating leek that was in his cap. Yes. Very good, Mr. Malalawan. Where do we get some sympathy for? Well, here, Gower basically says what he said in the previous scene, what kind of man Pistol is. Going back to that, "'Tis a gull, a fool, a rogue, that now and then goes to wars to grace himself at his return to London under the form of a soldier." They con perfectly in the phrase of war. And then going to the pubs, they basically BS everybody about what they did in the war. Where in here, in this piece, do we see Pistol saying he's going to do something very similar? Quote the lines that say, "Pistol will use this beating, his bruises, as evidence of his valor in the war." What lines tell us that Pistol will use this beating, his bruises from Llewellyn, as evidence of his valor in the war? Very good. Whoops. Very good, Mr. Malaluan. Excellent. Now, in this passage, one more question. Where does Shakespeare create sympathy for Pistol? We got a good laugh at watching him get beat. We feel he deserves what he got, but in the same time, we feel for him. What line? What happened? Where's our sympathy for Pistol? Again, go to his last little I'm going to give you a hand here. This you won't find in any dictionary because all it is Shakespeare condensing his words, contracting them. Where do we get the sympathy for Pistol? Where does he create some sympathy? Very good. Okay, let's move on to scene 2, which is the last scene in the play. There's an oscillation of tone at the top of this scene. You've got a lot of tension between the French and the English, and at one point, though, the tension is lifted and the things settle into place. The most important aspect of this scene is Henry going about winning Catherine's heart, which Shakespeare tries to use some humor. He has Henry humbling himself before the woman. And then what note does he end his play on? Enter at one door King Henry, Exeter, Bedford, Gloucester, Warwick, Westmoreland, and other lords. At another, the French King, Queen Isabel, the Princess Catherine, Alice, and other ladies, the Duke of Burgundy and his train. So you have the English entering from one side and the French king and his lords entering from another. The Duke of Burgundy is the ambassador. He is the mediator. Unto our brother France and to our sister, health and fair time of day, joy and good wishes to our most fair and princely cousin Catherine, and as a branch and member of this royalty, by whom this great assembly is contrived, we do salute you, Duke of Burgundy, and princes, French, and peers, health to you all, peace to this meeting, wherefore we are met. Opening with what appears to be a very positive tone, a very polite greeting. Righteous, joyous are we to behold your face, most worthy brother England, fairly met. So are you, princes, English, every one. Everyone sounds like they're friendly with one another. So happy be the issue, brother England, of this good day and of this gracious meeting, as we are now glad to behold your eyes which hitherto have borne in them against the French that met them in their bent, the fatal balls of murdering basilisks. The venom of such looks we fairly hope have lost their quality, and that this day shall change all griefs and quarrels into love. Note, I'm not bolding words or allusions anymore, because we have had at least one word that I'm sure is unfamiliar, and we've just passed one allusion. I want to see you find these. So, the fatal balls of murdering basilisks, the venom of such looks, we fairly hope have lost their quality, and that this day shall change all griefs and quarrels to love. This is a reminder of the real tension that is in the room, regardless of all of this niceties. To cry amen to that, thus we appear. You English princes all, I do salute you. My duty to you both, on equal love, great kings of France and England, that I have labored with all my wits, my pain, and strong endeavors to bring your most imperial majesties unto this bar and royal interview. Your mightiness on both parts best can witness. Since then my office hath so far prevailed that face to face and royal eye to eye you have congreted. Let it not disgrace me if I demand before this royal view what rub or impediment there is, why that the naked, poor, and mangled peace, dear nurse of arts, plentities, and joyful births, should not in this best garden of the world, our fertile France, put up her lovely visage. Alas, she hath from France too long been chased, and all her husbandry doth lie on heaps, corrupting in its own fertility. Her vine, the merry cheerer of the heart, unpruned dies. Her hedges, even pleached like prisoners wildly overgrown with hair, put forth disordered twigs. Her fallow lees, the darnel, hemlock, and rank fumitory doth root upon, while that the coulter rust that should deracinate such savagery. That even mead, that erst brought sweetly forth the freckled cowslip, burnet, and green clover, wanting the scythe, withal uncorrected, rank, conceives by idleness, and nothing teems but hateful docks, rough thistles, kexies, burrs, losing both beauty and utility. So Burgundy is cutting to the chase. Yes, niceties aside, the fact is there's a lot of tension and rancor between the two countries still. The war is over. British have won. The British king is, in fact, the ruler of both countries, with the king of France being like a regent in essence. But there is a lot of animosity still to be dealt with. And as our vineyards, fallows, meads, and hedges, defective in their natures, grow to wildness, even so our houses and ourselves and children have lost or do not learn for want of time the sciences that should become our country, but grow like savages, as soldiers will, that nothing do but meditate on blood, to swearing and stern looks, diffused attire, and everything that seems unnatural, which to reduce into our former favor you are assembled, and my speech entreats that I should know the let why gentle peace should not expel these inconveniences and bless us with her former qualities. So tell me why peace is not. Why don't we have peace now? If Duke of Burgundy, you would the peace, whose want gives growth to the imperfections which you have cited, you must buy that peace with full accord to all our just demands, whose tenors and particular effects you have scheduled briefly in your hands. In other words, listen, you want peace? You agree to the terms that I've given you in that document. So this scene, the opening of this scene, is all bureaucracy. Shakespeare spices it up with playing on the tensions and the emotions of the individuals in the room. The king hath heard them, to the which as yet there is no answer made. So the King of France knows about this document, but he has not replied to it. Well then, the peace which you before so urged lies in his answer. I have but with a cursory eye or glance the articles. Pleaseth your grace to appoint some of your council presently to sit with us once more with better heed, pass our accept and peremptory answer. Brother, we shall. So in other words, France says, oh yeah, I've only glanced at the document. Give me a couple of your lords. We'll go through it piece by piece, and I will give you an answer after. Go, Uncle Exeter and Brother Clarence, and you, Brother Gloucester, Warwick and Huntington, go with the king, and take with you free power to ratify, augment, or alter, as your wisdom's best shall see advantageable for our dignity, anything in or out of our demands, and we'll consign thereto. Will you, fair sister, go with the princes, or stay here with us? Our gracious brother, I will go with them. Happily a woman's voice may do some good when articles too nicely urged be stood on. Yet leave our cousin Catherine here with us. She is our capital demand, comprised within the forerank of our articles. Here is where we begin the wooing scene. So, the King of France and all the lords of England and some of France leave the room with the Queen, Isabel. And they are going to go over the document that Henry has presented to the king of his demands as victor of the war. They all leave except he requests Catherine to stay behind because now he wants to win her love. He has her. She's his. He won the war. She is his main prize. She's basically has to marry him. But he does her the honor of trying to win her love. She hath good leave. Exit all except King Henry, Catherine, and Alice. Alice is the chaperone. You never had a man and woman alone, or they avoided that at all costs until they were married. Fair Catherine, and most fair, will you vouchsafe to teach a soldier terms such as will enter a lady's ear and plead his love suit to her gentle heart? Teach me how to win your love. Your majesty shall mock at me. I cannot speak your England. O fair Catherine, if you will love me soundly with your French heart, I will be glad to hear you confess it brokenly with your English tongue. Do you like me, Kate? It's interesting that we leave the romantic verse and enter into prose. And the reason for that is because Catherine can't speak English very well, so you're best to use as basic and plain a language as possible for the other person to understand. Pardonnez-moi, I cannot tell what is like me. An angel is like you, Kate, and you are like an angel. To Alice. Dit-il que je suis semblable à l'ange? Oui, vraiment, sauf votre grace, Annie, dit-il. I said so, dear Kate, and I must not blush to affirm it. Oh, bon Dieu, les langues des hommes sont pleines de tromperies. What says she, fair one? That the tongues of men are full of deceit? Oui, that the tongues of the man is be full of deceits. That is the princess. The princess is the better Englishwoman. Ay, faith, Kate, my wooing is fit for thy understanding. I am glad thou canst speak no better English, for if thou couldst, thou wouldst find me such a plain king that thou wouldst think I had sold my farm to buy my crown. I know no ways to mince it in love, but directly to say, I love you. Then, if you urge me farther than to say, do you in faith, I wear out my suit. Give me your answer. I faith do, and so clap hands on a bargain. How say you, lady? Sauf votre honneur, me understand ver. Mary, if you would put me to verses or to dance for your sake, Kate, why, you undid me. For the one, I have neither words nor measure, and for the other, I have no strength in measure, yet a reasonable measure in strength. If I could win a lady at leapfrog or by vaulting into my saddle with my armor on my back, under the correction of bragging be it spoken, I should quickly leap into a wife. Or if I might buffet for my love, or bound my horse for her favors, I could lay on like butcher and sit like a jackanapes, never off. But before God, Kate, I cannot look greenly, nor gasp out my eloquence, nor have I cunning in protestation, only downright oaths, which I never use till urged, nor never break for urging. If thou canst love a fellow of this temper, Kate, whose face is not worth sunburning, that never looks in his glass for love of anything he sees there, let thine eye be thy cook. I speak to thee, I speak to thee, plain soldier. If thou canst love me for this, take me. If not, I say to thee that I shall die is true. But for thy love, by the Lord, no. Yet I love thee too. And while thou livest, dear Kate, take a fellow of plain and uncoined constancy, for he perforce must do thee right, because he hath not the gift to woo in other places. For these fellows of infinite tongue that can rhyme themselves into ladies' favors, they do always reason themselves out again. What? A speaker is but a prater, a rhyme is but a ballad, a good leg will fall, a straight back will stoop, a black beard will turn white, a curled pate will grow bald, a fair face will wither, a full eye will wax hollow. But a good heart, Kate, is the sun and the moon, or rather the sun and not the moon, for it shines bright and never changes, but keeps his course truly. If thou would have such an one, take me, and take me, take a soldier, take a soldier, take a king. What sayest thou then to my love? Speak, my fair, and fairly, I pray thee. Is it possible that I should love the enemy of France? No, it is not possible you should love the enemy of France, Kate, but in loving me you should love the friend of France, for I love France so well that I will not part with a village of it. I will have it all mine. And Kate, when France is mine, and I am yours, then yours is France, and you are mine. I cannot tell what is that. No, Kate, I will tell thee in French, which I am sure will hang upon my tongue like a new married wife about her husband's neck, hardly to be shook off. Je compte sur la possession de France, et quand vous avez la possession de moi, let me see what then. Saint Denis, be my speed. Donc votre est France et vous êtes mienne. It is as easy for me, Kate, to conquer the kingdom as to speak much more French. I shall never move thee in French, unless it be to laugh at me. Sauf votre honneur, le français qui vous parlez, il est mieux que l'anglais, lequel je parlais. No, faith, it is not, Kate, but thy speaking of my tongue, and I thine, most truly, falsely, must needs be granted to be much at one. But, Kate, dost thou understand thus much English? Canst thou love me? I cannot tell. Can any of your neighbors tell, Kate? I'll ask them. Come, I know thou lovest me, and at night when you come into your closet you'll question this gentlewoman about me, and I know, Kate, you will dispraise those parts in me that you love with your heart. But, good Kate, mock me mercifully, the rather, gentle princess, because I love thee cruelly. If ever thou beest mine, Kate, as I have a saving faith within me tells me thou shalt, I get thee with scabbling, and thou must therefore needs prove a good soldier breeder. Shalt not thou and I between St. Davis and St. George compound a boy, half French, half English, that shall go to Constantinople and take the Turk by the beard? Shall we not? What sayest thou, my flower de luce? I do not know that. No, 'tis hereafter to know, but now to promise. Do but now promise, Kate, you will endeavour for your French part of such a boy, and for my English moiety take the word of a king and a bachelor. How answer you? La plus belle Catherine du monde, mon très cher et divine disait. Your Majesty have false French enough to deceive the most sage demoiselle that is in France. Now fie upon my false French, by mine honour, in true English, I love thee, Kate, which honour I dare not swear thou lovest me, yet my blood begins to flatter me that thou dost, notwithstanding the poor and untempering effect of my visage. Now beshrew my father's ambition, he was thinking of civil wars when he got me. Therefore was I created with a stubborn outside, with an aspect of iron, that when I come to woo ladies, I fright them. But in faith, Kate, the elder I wax, the better I shall appear. My comfort is that old age, that ill layer up of beauty, can do no more spoil upon my face. Thou hast me, if thou hast me at the worst, and thou shalt wear me, if thou wear me, better and better. And therefore tell me, most fair Kate, will you have me? Put off your maiden blushes, avouch the thoughts of your heart, and with the looks of an empress take me by the hand and say, Harry of England, I am thine, which word thou shalt no sooner bless mine ear withal, but I will tell thee aloud, England is thine, Ireland is thine, France is thine, and Harry Plantagenet is thine, who, though I speak it before his face, if he be not fellow with the best king, thou shalt find the best king of good fellows. Come, your answer in broken music, for thy voice is music and thy English broken. Therefore, queen of all, Catherine, break thy mind to me in broken English. Wilt thou have me? That is as it sa please de Rome, mon Pierre. Nay, it will please him well, Kate. It shall please him, Kate. Then it shall also content me. Upon that I kiss your hand, and I call you my queen. Laissez, monseigneur, laissez, ma foi, je ne veux point que vous abaissez votre grandeur en baissant la main d'un autre seigneur. Indignez ces vêtures. Excusez-moi, je vous supplie, mon très puissant ingénieur. Then I will kiss your lips, Kate. Les dames et demoiselles, pour être basiées devant le nocier, il n'est pas le coutume de France. Madame, my interpreter, what says she? That it is not be the fashion pour les ladies of France. I cannot tell what is basé en English. To kiss. Your Majesty entendra better que moi. It is not a fashion for the maids in France to kiss before they are married, would she say? Oui, vraiment? Oh, Kate. Nice customs curtsy to great kings, dear Kate. You and I cannot be confined within the weak list of a country's fashion. We are the makers of manners, Kate, and the liberty that follows our places stops the mouth of all faults, as I will do yours for upholding the nice fashion of your country in denying me a kiss. Therefore, patiently and yielding, kissing her. You have witchcraft in your lips, Kate. There is more elegance in a sugar touch of them than in the tongues of the French council, and they should sooner persuade Harry of England than a general petition of monarchs. Here comes your father. Enter the French king, Queen Isabel, Burgundy, and other lords. God save your Majesty, my royal cousin, teach you our princess English. I would have her learn, my fair cousin, how perfectly I love her, and that is good English. Is she not apt? Our tongue is rough, coz, and my condition is not smooth, so that, having neither the voice nor the heart or flattery about me, I cannot so conjure up the spirit of love in her that he will appear in his true likeness. Pardon the frankness of my mirth if I answer you for that. If you would conjure in her, you must make a circle. If conjure up love in her is his true likeness, he must appear naked and blind. Can you blame her then, being a maid, yet rosed over with the virgin crimson of modesty, if she deny the appearance of a naked blind boy in her naked seeing self? It were, my lord, a hard condition for a maid to consign to. Yet they do wink and yield, as love is blind and enforces. Then they are excused, my lord, when they see not what they do. Then, good my lord, teach your cousin to consent winking. I wink on her to consent, my lord, if you will teach her to know my meaning. For maids well summed and warmed kept are like flies at Bartholomew tide, blind, though they have their eyes, and then they will endure handling, which before would not abide looking on. This moral ties me over to a time and a hot summer, and so I shall catch the fly, your cousin, in the latter end, and she must be blind too. As love is, my lord, before it loves. It is so. And you may, some of you, thank love for my blindness, who cannot see many a fair French city for one French maid that stands in my way. Yes, my lord, you see them prospectively. The city's turned into a maid, for they are all girdled with maiden walls that war hath never entered. Shall Kate be my wife? So please you. I am content. So the maiden cities you talk of may wait on her, so that the maid that stood in the way for my wish shall show me the way to my will. We have consented to all terms of reason. Is it so, my lords of England? The king hath granted every article, his daughter first, and in sequel all according to their firm proposed natures. Only he hath yet subscribed this, where your majesty demands that the king of France, having any occasion to write for matter of grant, shall name your highness in this form and with this addition, in French, Notre très cher fils Henri, roi d'Angleterre, heritier de France, and thus in Latin, oh God, I have no idea how to even presume Latin, Prae Clariciums filius noster Henricus Rex Anglais et Ares Franciae. Nor this I have not, brother, so denied, but your request shall make me let it pass. I pray you then, in love and dear alliance, let that one article rank with rest, and thereupon give me your daughter. Take her, fair son, and from her blood raise up issue to me, that the contending kingdoms of France and England, whose very shores look pale with envy of each other's happiness, may cease their hatred, and this dear conjunction plant neighborhood and Christian-like accord in their sweet bosoms, that never war advance his bleeding sword twixt England and fair France. Amen. Now welcome, Kate, and bear me witness all, that here I kiss her as my sovereign queen. Flourish. God, the best maker of all marriages, combine your hearts in one, your realms in one, as man and wife, being two, are one in love. So be there twixt your kingdoms such a spousal that never may ill office or fell jealousy, which troubles oft the bed of blessed marriage, thrust in between the paction of these kingdoms, to make divorce of their incorporate league, that English may as French Englishmen receive each other. God speak this. Amen. Amen. Prepare we for our marriage, on which day my lord of Burgundy will take your oath, and all the peers, for surety of our leagues. Then shall I swear to Kate, and you to me, and may our oaths well kept and prosperous be. Senate. Exit. So in essence, the hope is that the union between Henry and Kate will heal the wounds of dissension between the two countries and finally bring them peace. Of course, sadly, if one knows one's history, we know that that isn't the case. Our warrior king dies at a very young age of dysentery, and his baby, his son, is an infant king, and so the country is ruled by other men with other plans. Enter chorus. Thus far with rough and all unable pen, our bending author has pursued the story. In little room confining mighty men, mangling by starts the full course of their glory. Small time, but in that small most greatly lived this Star of England. Fortune made his sword, by which the world's best garden be achieved, and of it left his son imperial lord, Henry VI, in infant bands, crowned king of France and England. Did this king succeed, whose state so many had the managing, that they lost France and made his England bleed. That's just what I finished telling you. Which oft our stage hath shown, and for their sake, and your fair minds, let this acceptance take. Ends on such a positive note here with the king. But then the chorus comes in, and it has to come in, because everybody knows that this is not the case. Shakespeare's audience knows this is not the case. And the chorus says, I know you know. I know that as a result of the death of Henry V and his infant son being made Henry VI, and the management of the state being under the hands of so many, they mangled it. They lost France and England bled. Alrighty, we have finished the play, and you have your homework. Tomorrow, I am going to use class time to show you guys the film. I really like the Tom Hiddleston version, so we will watch that. I will use Google Meet and open up the film using that Plex to help you to further your understanding of the play. So you have Act 5 homework, as well as your Act 5 homework, you have your newspaper. And now that we've finished reading the play and we're going to watch the play, I'm going to make the due date for the newspaper. I'm going to set that in. So I'm going to move this up. And I'm going to edit. So all your Act 5 work is due for Monday. Due date for the newspaper is going to be the 18th. Varshablows. Okay, so that ends our lesson.